You told me something yesterday about roughly how much money you had saved by installing a lift. You said easily $40,000. I count that as a lot of money. And I wanted to know how you figured out that you had saved easily that much money.
Well, I was figuring that the last 8 months of his life, where he was very bedridden, that $5,000 for 8 months is $40,000, but $5,000 is actually kind of conservative if you're talking about full-time nursing care. So that was just a rough figure, but so easily 40.
Easily 40, great.
Yeah.
And all of the concern times that you might have had in the year before, while, you know, when Jim was up and unsteady on his feet and oops, he slipped, and you might have had to call the fire department some number of times. Or
have someone here when I came home from the doctor, or when I needed to move him from into the car, or into the wheelchair. It allowed me to do lots of things without depending on other people. When we first put it in, like in 2009, because he had Parkinson's as well as several other things, but Parkinson's mainly, he felt out of balance, like he thought he was going to fall all the time, even when he was sitting down or laying down.
Mm-hmm.
So it took him a while to get used to the process of moving him and not to be afraid. But he did get used to it, you know, especially when, you know, we had no other way to move him anymore. Well, it was a sort of gradual sort of, you know, solving of problems, trying to figure out how best to do the things we needed to do. And first, you know, he was able to do things, and then after a series of falls, we knew we had to change, like getting into the house and getting from one room to the other. There's one step, and so we had to do something to solve those so that he could move around the house. And then as he became less mobile, and he was not able to sit up as long and not able to move around less and less as the Parkinson's progressed, then we were faced with trying to just move him from the bed to the wheelchair, or the wheelchair to a motorized chair that we had, or to the commode. And so I had tried to figure out how we could manage this at home, since that was our goal, was to not have him in any sort of institutional setting. It sort of gradually dawned on me, you know, how much he was going to require in the way of care. And most of the time, everyone advised me that I couldn't do it. But I didn't think that was true. And so I thought about it over a period of a year after I got the original 2 ramps. Then I thought, well, you know, how can we do this? And so it turned out that my main problems were just moving him from one place to another. And I couldn't physically do it myself. And even having a caregiver here, like 1.5 days, I think, and then another 4-hour person came in. They couldn't do it either. And even my son, who's 6'7" and 230 pounds, he couldn't do it. And I could kind of wrestle him around a little bit, but I got a various assortment of injuries doing that.
Right.
So that obviously wasn't going to last. So you know, the solution seemed to be to find some way to move him where he was safe and I wouldn't hurt myself. And so that's how we came to the idea of the lift. Mm-hmm. When I originally saw it, I saw the pictures and the explanations. David showed me what all the choices there were, and I thought about our house and, you know, how we needed it But I thought about it for almost, I think, about a year before I finally decided that it made the most sense, solve the major problem, which was I needed to be able to do things for him without having to rely on other people who, you know, it was very difficult to have someone here when I had to move him, you know, after, you know, he had a meal or change the bed or
Whatever.
whatever, yeah. The firemen get tired of coming.
Working backwards, roughly, how much time did you have the lift installed in your house?
I think it was, July of 2009, I think is when we installed it. And then he died in February 2011.
Mm-hmm.
So that we had, first year we used it just when we needed to, but then the second year we used it more because he became more unstable with the progression of Parkinson's, and then the last 8 months he was virtually bedridden without it. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't have been able to move him out of the bed.
And all of the problems that come with being bedridden, of pressure sores and ulcers and so on and so forth, would have been a huge, big problem, versus you had a little trouble right at the end with that. Okay.
Right.
Again, that's speaking well to your care as well as to the assistance that the equipment gave you in taking care of that. That's great.
I never had any trouble with any of the equipment, but you know, I felt like I could have called if I needed help, but I never had any trouble. So in fact, the last few months I was getting very concerned that I was so dependent on it. I thought maybe I should call and have them check it, because even a couple of hours without it would have been hard. Mm-hmm. And so, but I didn't have to. It worked perfect, even though my grandson tried to swing on it all the time. I like to say that, you know, having this equipment, the ramps plus the lift, allowed me to achieve the goal of taking care of my husband right down to the last hour. And up until the day before he died, I was able to do it all by myself. And that was very important to me, to be able to do that, to say I did it, and not to have him in a setting where he would be so helpless and disoriented. So I did it.